I am grateful for this support and this turnout. We've come a long way just since we first met with the Farmington Dems out here. We had like 6 people or 7 people in a room. And look at this. I am honored. I am excited. I am humbled, frankly. I am very humbled. When you go through this process, a lot of people believe in you. And they say, we're going to get behind you. And every day as you go, you can feel the more and more that duty gets bigger and bigger. And it's an honor. But it certainly is humbling, and I'm thankful to all of you. And I am going to do my best to make sure that we are successful and that we win in November. Let's talk about where we were, and then where we are, and then where we're going to go. So where we were, we know. We had all those candidates nights in the cold, where it was miserable, and we drove around, and we met many different people, and we talked to people, we shook hands. There wasn't a lot of interest from the National Party about this campaign. I visited them in D.C., and their message to me was, you seem like you have some talent, you did some good things in your home. Why don't you wait and do your political career somewhere else? And I said, why? And they said, no one is going to win in this district. You can't win in this district, and we don't see it as a priority. And the reason why they said that is because the last 2 election cycles, it was like North Korean elections. It was like a huge turnout for the other side. And they said, based on that, we don't see anybody turning this round. What do you think? You think they're right? So we've learned over and over again over the last few years is you can't judge anything in politics. You never know what's going to happen. But what you can do is fight for what you believe in. And that's what we've done since the get-go. And we did in every single town. We picked up friends like Melissa. People said, you believe in the same things I do. You want to have a more fair community, a more fair society. You care about your neighbors. You think the middle class has been forgotten and divided in this country. You think that your hometown has been forgotten and divided. You hate the anger. You hate the violence towards one another. You hate that feeling of apathy and fear that's over our country right now. Do you feel that feeling? Are you proud of where we're heading as a country right now? Do you feel we need to change it? Yes. Me too. And that's why I told the DCCC back then, I am going to run against Chris Collins. I looked at the record. Cecily, are you here today? Probably not. But Cecily, if you don't meet her, she's a wonderful person. She introduced me to the record of Chris Collins. I read it. I researched it online. I said, why isn't there more anger against this man? There was public acknowledgement everywhere about who he was and what he had done. Beyond that, years ago when he was Erie County executive, there was a record of bad deeds and misbehavior. Yet they endorsed him. They endorsed him anyway. And all these gentlemen now, and ladies and gentlemen, who are fighting over his bones like vultures, why didn't they primary him? They knew who he was. So that's where we are right now. We're in a situation that is chaos. It's chaos for them. Seems pretty good over here on our side, right? So what is going on? So I'll tell you how this all unfolded. I was out running in the morning. I was with my dog. My phone just started ringing and ringing and ringing, and I tried to ignore it, and I said, I can't ignore this. Someone must be hurt or something. I turned the phone on, and I saw what happened to the congressman. And I was relieved. Because I often said to those who are close to me, I said, the biggest worry I have is that he's going to be able to coast through this, and that he's going to get elected again, and no one's going to know. So I was relieved. I was relieved that the news came forward. I felt sorrow for his family and himself. I had met the guy recently. I met him twice, as you may know. I met him recently. I met him at a fair, and I'll tell you what, I looked him in the eyes, and I could feel right away that he was under stress and trouble. Now, I was vain enough to think it was about me confronting him. But there's a lot more going on in his mind, I can tell you right now. And I don't gloat in the misfortunes of other people. I'm sure he and his family are going through a very terrible time. But the reality is we have to hold people accountable for their actions. And partially that's the actions of the Republican Party, who propped this man up, who told the people of our region to trust them, to give money to him. They gave money to him and he used it for his legal case. Did you know that? Far more than we raised in our campaign, he was spending on his legal fees. So it was an ugly situation. It is about to get uglier. Now remember, just a few days ago, they were telling us we should elect him even though he was indicted. They were still saying, oh, this is the way to go. But they must have done some polling or something because they have a new plan. And I can tell you that's because the feedback they got. Because I was just at Pike. You know where Pike, New York is? Yeah. I was there last night for a parade. And everyone I'd shake, can I use you for an example? I'd be like, how you doing? I'm Nate McMurray. I run against Chris Collins. And the gentleman would say, oh, I got to get that guy out. There was a lot of anger out there. Every person was like, oh, get rid of that guy. Get rid of that bum. And the good news is they know who he is now and for all the right reasons. They know his real record. That's why the Republican Party is going through these strange machinations to trick the people of Western New York. Now, I'm a lawyer. I'm not an elections lawyer, but I looked at the law myself. There's only 3 ways they can get him off the ballot. He's got to die, which I don't wish that upon anybody. I mean, we're all going to get there eventually, but not anytime soon. The second thing is that the moving doesn't seem to work, so they have to appoint him to a lesser position to run for. That seems possible, but I think there's some obstacles there too. But let's say theoretically that he can do that. Theoretically. Is there a greater injustice you can think of to foist this man upon some town and say, here's a new town justice, Chris Collins. He's going to be in jail in a year, but heck. I mean, does that make any sense to you? I mean, that is the ultimate kind of fraud. Let's use that word. Call it out. It's fraud. It's fraud. They are tricking us to think this is okay, and they want to take a mulligan. They want to hit the reset button, and they want to move on. And they're going to put some other guy who didn't challenge Chris, who didn't fight against Chris in this position. Now, I was endorsed by a group called Citizens Against Collins. Have you heard of that group? Yes. They were called wackos and weirdos, and how dare they oppose Chris? How dare you? This is an important man. They were right. They had the record right. Let's give a round of applause for Grassroots. They were right. And they endorsed me. Now, I don't know what the Erie County GOP's name is. I think they have a pseudonym that's, the Citizens for Collins until last week. Because they've forgotten all about him. They're against him. But I'm the only guy that was endorsed by Citizens Against Collins. I think the people of this region will remember that. I'm also hoping they're going to remember the fact that all these people who are jumping up supported Chris Collins. They supported his actions that took advantage of this region. They supported the fact that he used the House of the people, not for the people's business, but for the business of profiting himself and his family and his friends. It was wrong. They didn't stand up to it. And it continues to be wrong, the fact that they're not fully acknowledging what they did. And we need to hold them accountable. So what's next? We have a long way to go. They say elections start at Labor Day. So we have to understand that. We have a long ways to go. We are in a big fight. They are going to try to tell you all the things you know about me are not true. They're going to try to tell you that I'm some kind of terrible human being that shouldn't even be in Western New York. I should, go back to California or get out of the country, or who knows what they're going to say. But I've met you. Not all of you, but many of you. I've been in your homes. I've been in parades with you. We've handed out T-shirts together. You put your sticker on my car. We got tons of stickers. I'd like to see them on all those cars outside if we could. We've been together. You know who I am. I'm not a saint. I'm not perfect, but I tried my best. I'm a dad. I'm a guy who grew up in this region who loves this region with all his heart. I want to protect this region. Look at this environment. We might as well be in heaven. It's how beautiful is this location right here. I'm a person who will fight for you. I'm a person who understands what it's like to struggle. I'm one of you. And if I go to Washington, when I go to Washington, I'm going to be back as much as I can. I'm going to have town halls. I'm going to keep walking in parades. I'm going to keep shaking hands, not because I have to, because I want to. I love doing that. I love meeting people, and I love fighting for people. And the only way I can understand what people need is if I'm with them and I'm talking to them. So this is what I need you to do. See the fire and energy we have in this room? Yes. You need to hold it for 3 months. You need to build it. You need to spread it. Now, what you got to do, what they're going to do, they vote in packs. They'll go get their teams out. They'll get their buses out. They'll vote in packs. And I tell people this all the time. It's a fluke that I'm even in politics. I won my first election by 2 votes. Did you guys know that? On election night, it was 2 votes. And trust me, ever since then, every person I see in my community tells me I'm one of those 2 votes. You owe me, Nate. So what I want you to do is look at the person next to you and look and say, that's one of my votes. Now, when you leave here, go get another one. Yes. And go get another one. And remember, this election's going to be super close. It's going to be razor thin. They'd even prop up Chris if they have to. Anything to win. To hold on to this seat, they will do any dirty trick. Look at what they're doing. Chairman Hurley talked about it. They're going to meet in a room, and they're going to talk, and they're going to negotiate, and they're going to bargain. I'll give you this position if you give me that position. And then there's going to be a white puff of smoke that comes out, and they're going to come out and say, they're going to say, democracy. It works. It isn't democracy. They are trying to shove something down the throats of the people of this region. I want you to fight back. One of the things you can do right now is write letters. The people who wrote letters so far, it is a powerful tool. I know my supporters can write, trust me. These are some smart people in this room. The pen is mightier than the sword. Write your papers. Complain about this process. Express your feelings. If you get your letters to the editor in, it has a huge impact. Write those letters. Do not bother writing the offices of the parties or even Chris's office. Write to the newspapers. Get your voice out there. The second thing is talk to your friends. And this is the thing I'm going to end on. And then I want to talk, we'll mingle for a while, okay? We'll talk to each other. In this country, we have been taught to hate each other. We have been taught that to Democrats, Republicans are evil. And to Republicans, Democrats are evil. Now, I told you in the beginning, I'm worried about the future of this country. I am desperately worried about the course of this country right now. But we are not enemies. Regardless of race or gender or background or political ideology, we are still Americans. And I know we are fighting not each other, we are fighting the rest of the world for competition right now. We need to bind together. If we don't bind together, we're going to be torn apart. So I know in your own family, don't shake your head, no, I know it's true. You got people who don't see things the same way you do. Right? Right? So do me a favor. I got a suggestion. You can take it or leave it. I'm just another citizen. My suggestion is stop talking about the guy with the orange hair. Talk about issues. Talk about issues. Talk about, do you feel that the way your company treats you is fair? Do you feel that as a woman you are treated with fairness? Do you feel that that spending trillions or billions of dollars on a wall that may not work is better than filling potholes in Farmington? Talk about issues. Don't talk about people. We need you to talk about issues, because to win this election, I need you to reach out. I need you to reach out and bring people into this room who are not here now. And they're going to scream and they're going to preach hate and violence and anger, and we're going to go with the bright side of the force. We're going to go with goodness and kindness, and we are going to win this election. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you.